We are here to listen to all the candidates. We are here to have a democratic election, and that's what starts with good primaries. So the first thing we're going to do is kick off with the senatorial candidates. Senator Warner couldn't be here, but he has somebody to represent him, and he sent a video. So we will start with that. Ms. Lawren Stewart, who many of you know because she's been an active member of the party here in Hampton Roads for a long time.
Thank you, Bill. Now, first I don't have my Warner hat on, I have my Hampton Roads hat on because I met this wonderful gentleman and also Leslie Reynolds, the chair of Suffolk, when I was regional political for the Harris Walls campaign, first Biden and then the Harris Walls. And these folks inspired me because what they were doing in rural areas where Democrats weren't that prevalent inspired me to kick it up on the peninsula because I serve as outreach chair for Newport News. So we started breakfasts and all kind of things. So just kudos to you all. It's just amazing. And so you have amazing leadership. So let's get in the fight. And now with my Warner hat, I do want to just say thank you all for signing the petitions. If anyone wants to help, let us know. Of course, we have to get 10,000 signatures statewide. And we're actually going to get 20,000 as a buffer. And what we're doing is helping the congressional Democratic incumbents collect their 1,000, the elected incumbents, okay? Collect their 1,000 because if redistricting happens, we want everyone to be okay. So I appreciate you guys here today, and let's continue to fight, and I hope you guys enjoy the video here.
Hey, Isle of Wight Democrats. I'm sorry I can't be with you in person for your caucus today, but I did want to take a few minutes to speak to you personally about the issues we face in our country. I also want to thank your terrific chair, Bill Robinson, and everybody on the committee for all that you do to elect Democrats. This is one of the most challenging moments I've seen in my entire life in public service. And I think it's important that you hear directly from me of what I'm doing in DC and why your work on the ground matters so much right now. In just this past couple week holiday break, Donald Trump continues to do extraordinary things that is creating extraordinary damage all across our country. First, he let the Affordable Care Act tax credits expire. That immediately raises health care costs, not just for people who buy insurance through the exchange, but really for everyone. Higher premiums mean more uninsured people. More uninsured people mean more emergency room care. And those costs get passed on to families even with employer health insurance. Second, Trump abruptly canceled Virginia's offshore wind project, something I've been working on for more than a decade. And this project was on track to actually help power over 400,000 homes across Virginia. By arbitrarily canceling that project, it takes clean energy off the grid, raises electricity prices, and stops Virginia from being a leading power across the country in wind energy that creates long-term jobs and clean energy. And if that weren't enough, as we've just seen recently, President Trump launched a war in Venezuela without any congressional authorization. And matter of fact, under his theory of the case, any country could go in and snatch a leader if they violated the home country's laws. I mean, under that theory, Putin could go in and grab Zelensky, or Xi could take over Taiwan because they happen to break Chinese law or Russian law. That theory would unwind any kind of international order. And again, he's done this without telling the American people why. Do we really want our sons and daughters in harm's way in Venezuela to try to grab their oil? We've seen that movie before, and we know how it ends. But looking back at 2025, we got to acknowledge we had to play a lot of defense. Here in the Senate, I voted against every Trump Republican budget for one simple reason. We shouldn't be taking health care away from people to pay for tax cuts for the wealthiest in our country. I also worked to hold this administration accountable for serious national security failures. From Signalgate, where Pete Hegseth and that crowd, you communicated classified information about a strike on an unsecure line, from trying to hold accountable, not successfully, I gotta tell you, unfortunately, political extremists like Laura Loomer, who seem to be dictating foreign policy, and across the board, undermining how we're viewed all around the world. But there were some bright spots, and this is where, again, we should be so proud of what we did here in the Commonwealth. Virginians stood up against corruption, against this kind of cruel approach, and the whole chaotic approach of Donald Trump. We elected Abigail Spanberger by over 15 points, and we expanded our House of Delegates majority by 13 new seats. That happened because of the organizing, turnout, and leadership. And a lot of that coming from rooms just like yours tonight. Now we're in 2026, and the idea of holding Trump accountable, we now have our chance. Midterm elections are here, and we have the chance to go on offense. My scorecard for success this year isn't just getting myself reelected. It's flipping congressional seats so we can restore real oversight during Donald Trump's last 2 years in office. We've done this before. Back in 2008, when I first got elected to the Senate, Virginia flipped 3 congressional seats, and those seats helped make the ACA, the healthcare law, possible. In 2018, with my dear friend Tim Kaine at the top of the ticket, we'd lost some seats, we flipped again 3 seats, and that allowed us to hold on to the ACA law. And in 2020, at my most recent reelection, Virginia was the only state in the country to hold every Democratic seat that we'd flipped a couple years earlier. This year, we had the opportunity to lead again right here in the Commonwealth. I support redistricting that the legislature is going to work on to counter the extreme Republican gerrymandering. But with it or without it, I can tell you this, we're on track to flip 2 or 3 seats in Virginia in 2026. You simply can't go out and raise healthcare costs for millions of Americans and expect voters to not forget it, when our focus ought to be on affordability, and instead it's on foreign misadventures. Voters will not forget that. And that's why I need your help. We need to continue to stay focused on questions around affordability and explain over and over again why Trump's policies, from healthcare to utility bills, are only raising prices. And truthfully, a lot of the families that may have supported Donald Trump, I think, are going to be open to that message. Our job is to tell the truth and connect the dots. We also got to have a positive vision for the future. I believe that includes plans for universal health care, where it becomes a right in this country. How we implement that, got a lot of things we got to work through, but we've got to have that vision. We've got to make sure that we dramatically increase housing affordability and housing supply, and I've got a whole set of plans on that. And on an issue that not a lot of folks are talking about yet, but I believe will be a major issue in 26 and the determinative issue in 28, is the effects of artificial intelligence. There'll be some good things coming out of AI, but there's also going to be a whole set of challenges, particularly for younger people coming out of college, entering the workplace. AI is destroying a whole ton of those jobs, and we've got to have a plan. So I'm looking forward to this race. I'm looking forward to engaging with Virginians, and I really need your help. And here's how you can do it. First, please engage with our campaign team. I know there are folks at your meeting tonight collecting signatures for ballot access. Talk with them about volunteering and organizing. Second, bring a friend or a family member to your next committee meeting or campaign event. The truth is, the midterms is an all-hands-on-deck event. And finally, visit our website, markwarnerva.com, to learn more about our campaign. And please follow Mark Warner VA on social media so that we can share our content. In an age of all kinds of misinformation, we can counter with the truth, but we've got to help get those facts out, and we all know that social media is the medium that is best used to communicate. As a governor, former governor and senator, I know we've said every year this is the most important year. This time with Donald Trump and his very threat to democracy, we're not kidding. This is the make it or break it year for American democracy. And there's no group I'd rather be in the fight with than Virginia Democrats. Your work has driven progress at the national level, at the state level, and the country needs Virginia to lead again. Thank you for everything you do, and I look forward to seeing you on the campaign trail.
And now we will hear from Jason Reynolds, who's opposing Mark Warner for the Democratic nomination.
Thank you very much.
Jason?
Thank you. First of all, I just want to thank the IOWC Democrats for extending this invitation. It's a pleasure to be, it's terrifying, but a pleasure to be out here speaking with you guys this morning. I'm not a public speaker. I'm going to apologize in advance. I'm going to try not to mess this up. You guys are going to find out how bad I am here in just a second, though. My name is Jason Reynolds. I'm running for U.S. Senate. I will be the first person to admit I don't have any previous political experience. I don't have any policy experience. I've never held an office. I've never run for office. Until last year, I never felt the call to run for office. What I do have is 20 years of experience of listening to people helping them identify what the problem is, and then working with a team to solve that problem. And I don't really think my lack of experience is necessarily a negative. I don't think the job of a senator should be to give flowery speeches or to be great at running for office. I think the job of a senator should be to listen to their constituents, try to understand their problems and then work with them to try to solve them the best you can. Obviously, if you were to elect me, you are not getting a politician. That's not me. What you would be getting is just a regular Virginian. I'm a dad. I live in the suburbs. I've got 2 kids. I've been in the Army briefly. I've been an Army spouse while my wife was in. I know what it's like to be that parent at home managing the family while your spouse is deployed. I was a stay-at-home dad for 8 years to get my kids into elementary school. And now I'm full-time working again. And I think that's what we need in Virginia now in the Senate. We need somebody that can identify with regular Virginians, somebody that's been there. I know what a lot of people, probably some of you in this room, are going through. I'm worried about my kid, how they're going to pay for college. I'm worried about my youngest, how is he going to pay for rent? Inflation is going crazy, prices are going up, a lot of price gouging, but wages have been pretty stagnant. I see the stress he's under every time I talk to him when rent comes due. I know what it's like to be hit with a $1,000 colonoscopy bill like I was last year. I know what it's like to try to figure out how you're going to pay for the leaky roof. I grew up poor. I know how much SNAP, welfare, food stamps, all of that means to people. I was in public housing and on food stamps until I was well into my teens. So I think what we need is somebody that's going to go to Washington, and I applaud Mark Warner for what he's done. But I think we need somebody there now that's really focused on the issues of everyday Virginians. We need somebody that's going to fight every day to bring more affordable housing to the state. Somebody that's going to fight for accessible and affordable health care, especially reproductive care. Somebody that's going to be fighting to protect our marginalized communities and our immigrants. And most of all, somebody that's going to fight tooth and nail to protect our democracy, because we need that to do all of the other things. Like I said, if you were to elect me, you're not going to get a polished politician. You're not going to get a speech maker. But I think you would be getting the right person for the moment in Virginia. And I obviously do not have 15 minutes. That's my whole spiel. But I'm happy if there's any questions, if it's allowed, I'm happy to answer any questions anybody might have with the remainder of my time. So thank you very much. Oh, yes.
So I wanted to know, in terms of, I understand your passion, your I want to say your shared commitment to the general common man, and that would be kind of what differentiate you from your average politician, so to speak. But I'm wondering, what do you see as the priority in terms of working for Virginians, working towards legislation that benefits all? How can you benefit, or how will you contribute to the social contract that voters would make with you, in giving you their vote of support?
We need to get more affordable housing in Virginia. I don't know if anybody's looked at the statistics, but minimum wage you cannot afford. There's no way you can afford the median priced home in Virginia anymore. It's just not possible. Two people working minimum wage can't afford the median priced home in Virginia. We need more affordable housing in the state. We're getting plenty of new housing. I don't know what it's like down here, but everything up in Fredericksburg, it's a lot of $300, $400, $500 homes. That's great if you're somebody who's established, who has a good career, but it's pricing the young people out of the communities. They're having to go somewhere else to try and buy a house if that's what they want. Even rents are crazy in Fredericksburg. My son and his girlfriend pay almost as much for a one-bedroom house as my wife and I do in our 3-bedroom mortgage. So we have to address affordable housing. We have to get the minimum wage up. The federal minimum wage has to go to at least 20, if not 25 or more. It's been flat for too long. $7.25 does not cut it. I know in Virginia We have a higher minimum wage. It's getting ready to go up again. But I mean, we should be looking at this nationally. You know, a senator's not just about what's good for Virginia. It's also what's good for the country. You know, so yeah, I think those are some of the big things we have to do. We have to hold corporations and the wealthy accountable for their share of taxes. We have to get those social safety nets that some of the most vulnerable in the state are relying on. We need to get those funded. You know, we need to end the Social Security cap. I don't know if anybody in here is affected by it. I know I'm getting close. But why aren't the people that are making $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year, why aren't they paying, you know, Social Security on taxes on most of that salary? You know, it's things like that. I mean, I don't have a bunch of policies yet, to be honest. I'm just here trying to get my name out, trying to meet people, find out what their concerns are. But I will tell you what I am good at is once I've identified a problem, I'm great at putting together a team. I've been doing that for 20 years. You know, I'm great at putting together a team who can work to solve the problem. So hopefully that answers your question.
We got to move on to the seats. Now I'd like to bring up Dr. Rita Daniels, who's a candidate for the U.S. Senate for Virginia.
Hello everyone, how are you guys doing? I'm so delighted to be here. I'm excited, so I can't wait to at least tell you my story. But that's going to be exciting. Hopefully that's exciting to even tell you that, right? But I am going to just go ahead and get these cards to the tables, only because I don't know how much time I have. But take one and pass it if you don't mind. That way you get to know all about me. That way you get to look me up on Facebook, look at the website, and learn more about me. Because in this short time, you probably won't learn anything about me. Just joking. I'll give you at least 3 pointers though. So number one, I've been on a speaking stage for a little bit, and some of the questions I'm just going to go ahead and answer them for you, because if I don't answer them, you will not get to my speech. You will not hear anything I say. So number one, sorry. How old are you? You look really young. Thank you. I appreciate that. But guess what? I am not going to tell you my age, because guess what? We are all adults here, and I'm sure you can go do some research and find that out, because again, that's what democracy is all about. Go find out about your candidates. But I will tell you this. I will tell you, I'll give you some context clues, because my background is an educator, so I like to teach too, right? So I'll give you some context clues here. I have 2 adult children. One is a millennial. That means he's in his 30s, I think. I get it confused sometimes. So another is a Gen Z. He's in his 20s, late 20s, or working in late 20s and late 30s. And so one of them is a combat veteran. So I'm also more sympathetic to the veterans, especially the ones that come back from the combat zone. So I do appreciate the service. So thank you. So that's number. So I'll give you that number. And the biggest one is that my husband and I have been married over 32 plus years. So you can go do that contact. Go figure that out. So that just kind of gives you the idea that there's some experience here. So that answered that question. The second question is you were probably already asked, why are you running for that seat? Why? So I'll tell you why. And I have some notes here, because I definitely want to make sure, probably can't get to everything, but I'm going to tell you why I am running for that seat. Number one, I just mentioned the adult children that I have. We have got to start preparing the next generation. If we do not do that, they are going to be left behind in this country. And we got to start getting them to the point where they can take that mantle and move forward. Because at the end of the day, America is graying. If you have not figured that out now, America is graying. That means we're getting older. And so we need to start letting them know, hey, you got to learn about democracy, get civically engaged, let's move forward. And so that's another reason I'm running for them, okay? We need to start preparing them. The second reason is because looking at, I'm just gonna look at my notes here because I've been talking all day, believe it or not. Another reason is because, number one, we're looking at the country, the Virginians. They are ready for change. They're trying to move forward. They're speaking it. The sentiment is there. So we gotta start getting new ideas, new perspectives in these seats. Because this generation, they know what they want. They already know, and you already know that. So we got to start meeting them where they are, asking these questions, getting them engaged. Okay, so that's another reason I'm running for this seat. The other one is because we're a Democratic Committee, right? And we do believe in democracy, right? So that means we have to have choices on the ballot. If you truly believe in democracy, you know that we do have to have choices on the ballot. So that's another reason for it. And I'm going to stick to that story throughout my entire campaign, that it's about having choices on the ballot. Win or lose, that's what it's about. Okay, you got me 2 reasons or 3 reasons why I'm ready. So let me tell you a little bit about me. Okay, so I have been part of my Democratic Committee for the past 12, 13 years. I have been working in that committee for a long time, so do not get it confused. I am part of the Democratic Committee. I am part of the democracy. I'm part of the Democratic. So someone asked me, are you a Republican or you're a Democrat? I'm a Democrat because I do believe in the values that they use. One of them is helping the community, helping the families. That's what my campaign is about. It's about helping the community, helping the families. That's one of the things I do get, so I am part of that. Number 2, I am also a 2-time elected official already, so I'm already currently sitting in a seat already. I sit on the school board in my county, and we are a rural county as well. We just went blue with Abigail this past November. So I am excited about that. So our county was rural. We were red for a long time. So we just went blue there. So that is very, that is important for my community. And then I'm also a professor. I do teach at American University. I teach students who are working on their master's degree. I teach students who are already attorneys and doctors who want to get back to their community. So they come to I'm the first class that they get to. So they come to learn about public service. That's number 1. So I send them to, most of them want to go work in Congress because they feel like they want to support the people in Congress, which is fine. So I do have a little bit about the policy background. And I'm also a military spouse as well. My husband served in the Air Force. He's a retired Air Force veteran. And like I said, my son is a combat veteran, so I have that military connection. So that is important for me to make sure I am doing what I need to do as a candidate to make sure I look out for the veterans. So I'm gonna tell you, because I can't go through everything, but I'll tell you my focus, my campaign focus. Number 1 is education, because like I said, I'm a 2-time elected official. I've been sitting in this seat for 7 years. I was chair in 2024. So education, if you all have looked at the education system, it needs to be expanded, and you all know that if they're still educating our kids like we were educated, I don't tell you the years where I was educated, but if they're still educating our kids, we need to change that, because our kids, they're on their phones, they're on social media. We need to get them more engaged, ask them what they would like to see in their education community or in their schools. For one, career in education tech, we've got to start preparing it. So that's one of the areas that I'm going to focus on, figuring out how we're going to expand that. Number 2 is health care. Of course, that's important. Particularly, it's important for the seniors and also for everybody, as a matter of fact, because I do believe everybody should have a health care. They should have access to health care. I can tell you stories about that. But let me just tell you this, if I just said the Americans are graying, that means they're going to have caregivers that care for them. I have a mother who's 79 years old, and she does have a caregiver. And guess what? If those caregivers do not have insurance, and they're not, how do you expect them to be well to take care of the seniors? How do we expect them to live if they're still making a minimum wage? So I have a policy connection to that that I would like to see. Now, I won't discuss that here because it'll take a little bit more time, but I do believe that our caregivers need some additional support, because that's something I do in my community. I won't go into that, but I focus on caregiving because some of them are making minimum wage and they do not have health insurance. So that's but I want to make sure that that's there. Number 3 is, of course, mental health is also a part of that. We have communities that do not have the support for mental health. And I do believe that some of that is because they feel like there's a stigma attached to if they go get assistance. And I want to change that narrative and make sure they understand that it's okay to go get help from a mental health professional, because we go get help for everything else. Why can't we just go get help to talk to people to help us thrive in these communities? And then number 3, I do believe that we should have sustainable communities. That means that these communities should be thriving. We need the support from the federal levels to come down to the local levels. That's why I'm running, to make sure our voices are raised a little bit higher at the federal level, because I do want to hear from you. I want to hear from the communities. I want to ensure that your voices are at that level. It's important for me. From my school board, 2 things that we did free lunch for all kids, and that was under my watch. Make sure that every child that comes into that classroom is full, because guess what? Kids cannot learn if they're hungry. That's number 1. Number 2, we now have a student representative on the school board. We never had that before. That was elected under my watch last year, and that's because it's important that we get these young people engaged in civically, because if they don't understand, and I'm gonna say everything you do is political, let's just start there. Everything you do, the reason that you are able to drive on this road is because of the decision that was made. So keep that in mind. When people say, I do not, I don't want to get involved in politics, guess what? If you're riding in your car, you're already involved. If you're here, you're already involved. If you go to the grocery store, you're already involved in politics. So let's get that clear. So tell everybody that you know, if they tell you that I do not want to get involved in politics, you're already there, honey. Just let them know that. And I can go down the list of how you're involved. Veterans, if you're getting benefits, you're involved in politics, because every decision that you make involves your decision when you go to the polls and vote. So I will leave you with this. Now I said all day. I've been talking fast all day, but there's more to go. But I'm going to just stop there because I can't tell you everything. But at some point, I'm sure someone's going to have me on a forum to have these discussions. But I will just say, if you support me on the ballot, and I don't want on the petition to get on the ballot, I just need your signature, because I do have to get 10,000 signatures in each congressional district. And I forgot to tell you this. One of the things someone asked me, well, how are you going to reach the whole state of Virginia? Well, guess what? I was already a Virginia Commissioner for the Arts. I was a state commissioner. I've already met the whole state already. I did it for 5 years. I was appointed by Governor McCullough and under Governor Northam. I sat on the state commission for the arts for 5 years. So I'm very well traveled. So I do not mind getting in my car to go take some petitions to get them signed. So if you support my candidacy on the ballot, I am humbly asking for your support to get my petition signed. And my website is on my business card. So please go there, learn all about me, and anybody will tell you in my community that I'm about the community, I'm about the kids, and I'm about collaboration, working together, because that's how we're gonna move this forward. Thank you.